What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder. We have a lot of Marvel news to go over today. A few days ago, Marvel Studios came out and revealed their new plan for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how many movies they're going to make a year, how many shows they're going to make a year, and they also admitted where they went wrong with Phase 4, 5, and 6. Basically, their strategy moving forward after Avengers Endgame was flawed. They have admitted that now. The Wall Street Journal did a big article about Marvel Studios and how they have realized that they have made too much content, and that is even coming from Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. But now we are hearing from Disney CEO Bob Iger about Marvel's new plan. In another piece about the strategy of Marvel moving forward, it seems like they really want us to know that they are trying their best to change and be better moving forward, having multiple outlets do multiple pieces on the same subject. This new one from Variety is titled, "Bob Iger says Thunderbolts is a first and best example of Marvel's new movie strategy. We lost a little focus by making too much." And it starts off by stating basically what we heard from the Wall Street Journal from Kevin Feige, but now the same thing is being admitted by Disney CEO Bob Iger. As it states, Disney's CEO Bob Iger admitted the company's film slate has struggled in post-pandemic times by focusing too much on quantity and not enough quality. Now, this article is primarily about Marvel, but when Bob Iger says this, he is actually speaking about Disney as a whole, because he actually ends the article by stating that he has a lot of confidence overall in Disney's upcoming slate with films like Lilo and Stitch, Zootopia, Fantastic Four: The First Steps, Avatar: Fire and Ash, stating that he thinks they're going to close out 2025 very well. But let's dive into what he specifically says about Marvel Studios and their new plan moving forward. The article begins by basically stating what a lot of people have naturally observed. The Marvel Cinematic Universe hasn't really restored its luster since the epic culmination of 2019's Avengers Endgame. They state that they've had hits like Deadpool and Wolverine, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But success has been widely inconsistent, as tentpoles like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The Marvels, and Captain America: Brave New World were among the first comic book franchise to lose money for Disney since the MCU brought superhero movies in vogue. And this morning there was an investor's call for Disney. And Bob Iger said, "We all know that in our zeal to flood our streaming platform with more content, that we turned to all of our creative engines, including Marvel, and had them produce a lot more. We've also learned over time that quantity does not necessarily beget quality. And frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much. By consolidating a bit and having Marvel focus much more on their films, we believe that will result in better quality. And I think the first and best example is Thunderbolts. I feel very good about that." And this is basically what we heard a few days ago in the big article by the Wall Street Journal. Marvel particularly is going to cut back on the shows that they produce. And based on what we learned from that article, they're not really going to be super connected to the overall story of the MCU movies. Now, that's not saying that they won't be connected at all, because they still will exist inside of the MCU. However, Marvel's strategy for shows moving forward is that they want to make shows that you don't have to watch anything else prior, no other movies or other shows, to watch a new show, unless it's a season 2, because they've also revealed that when they make shows, they want to make them for multiple seasons. With the best example of that being Daredevil: Born Again. They're already filming season 2 as we speak, and there could even be a season 3. But Marvel is kind of relying on the fans to tell them what essentially we like and what we don't like, which is kind of where their new strategy is coming from. In the Wall Street Journal article, they stated multiple times that fans couldn't really keep up with all of the content, and Kevin Feige himself even admitted that it was starting to kind of feel like homework. And while I can kind of agree with this, I do think that if everything they put out was insanely good, nobody would have had a problem with it whatsoever. We would have welcomed all the content. The main issue was everything they released wasn't all really good. Some of it was, but also some of it was just okay, and some of it was actually bad. There weren't many that were bad, but there were some. But now they have a new head of Marvel Television, Brad Winderbaum. He is in charge of Marvel TV. Now, ultimately, Kevin Feige will have final say in everything, but he trusts Brad Winderbaum to make all the big decisions. And this, in turn, clears up the TV side for him so he can simply focus on the movies. With the Wall Street Journal article, they basically stated that Kevin Feige was spread way too thin, trying to work on multiple movies and multiple shows. He just didn't have the time to devote individually to these projects. But now, since they are only going to make 1 or 2 shows a year, which they revealed, and he isn't head of TV, I mean, he's head of everything, but Brad Winderbaum is controlling TV, he is now going to be able to focus on the 3 movies a year that Marvel Studios makes. And for the Disney fans, it sounds like this is the overall plan for Disney as well, as Bob Iger states that the next 18 months are going to feel like 2019, and he believes that the next 18 months are going to be the best that they have been for the company in a very long time. Well, since 2019. So Bob Iger states that the Thunderbolts is the first example of their new quality. And I really liked the Thunderbolts. I thought it was a great movie. It's not without its flaws, but the writing and the direction of the film were a lot better than really what we've seen recently. But I think the true determining factor here is going to be the Fantastic Four First Steps, because this truly is the first film that they've kind of had their new strategy with. Because while they were filming the Thunderbolts, Kevin Feige was still pretty involved with TV. However, it wasn't the case for the Fantastic Four First Steps. Kevin Feige was super involved in the development of the Fantastic Four First Steps, so this will be the true test of quality in my personal opinion. However, like I mentioned, the fans will ultimately decide that. In a new interview with Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he revealed the determining factor of whether or not we could get a Daredevil Born Again Season 3. In a recent interview with Awards Buzz, he revealed that the team is already planning to do a Season 3. This is what he said. "If they let us do it, we have a plan. It is up to the fans to watch and get excited, and it is up to us to please them and get the story right. We are looking forward in a big way." Here he basically tells us that if the fans love Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and they want a Season 3, Marvel Studios will do it. And I do think that is going to be a big part of Marvel's strategy moving forward. If fans like what they're producing, then they're going to continue to do things the same way. If they make a movie or a show that the fans don't like, and they do watch, they look at all the ratings, they look at comments on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, they are searching. They have people whose specific jobs are to go and find out what the fans are thinking. And with their new strategy, if they are finding that fans really do love everything that they're doing now, they love the shows and they love the movies, then they're going to continue to produce them in the same way. And I hope they keep that in mind, because the best way to do that is to simply make great projects, make great movies, and make great shows. And as crazy as this sounds, this wasn't actually their plan before. It might have kind of been in their head, but the real plan, as was revealed by the Wall Street Journal, was to simply produce more content. Disney needed that content for Disney Plus, and they kind of had it in their head that Marvel fans would simply consume everything. And coming off of Avengers Endgame in 2019, that was kind of a fair assumption, because we did want more at that point in time, but we wanted it to be good. We actually wanted it to be great. And some of it was, but a lot of fans got really tired of kind of mediocre content. So the plan is simply reversed now. Now it's about producing quality content and not really caring too much about the quantity, which is how it always should have been, but hey, we're here now. Now, Vincent D'Onofrio did say one other very interesting thing in this new interview, and it has to do with the rights to Kingpin, and it looks like Marvel Studios really does not have those rights. Now, again, in the interview, he made it clear that audience support is important, and the show's future depends on how well Season 2 is received. If fans continue to watch and show excitement, there could be more stories to come. But they did go on to talk about Kingpin's future outside of Daredevil Born Again, specifically about him possibly appearing in movies, in which he replied, "I don't know about the movies at all. Nobody ever talks to me about the movies. It's all caught up in rights and stuff." He said that in a previous interview, but in this interview, he said this: "I would love for them, the rights thing figured out with Sony. I think that will eventually happen. I don't know when or how they're going about it, but I can't imagine that they won't figure out something. We'll see." So here in this interview, Vincent D'Onofrio essentially confirms that it's a rights deal with Sony that is preventing Kingpin from appearing in the movies. But here's the deal. There was a rights thing with Spider-Man that prevented Spider-Man from appearing in the MCU until Marvel and Sony worked out a deal. They can do the exact same thing for Kingpin. If they want Kingpin to be the main villain of Spider-Man 4, they could work that deal out. And to clarify, I am not saying that he is the villain of Spider-Man 4. I'm saying if they wanted him to be, they could work out a deal, especially after seeing how popular he is in Daredevil Born Again and hopefully again in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Again, it comes down to the fans. If we like Season 2 and we want Kingpin to appear in Spider-Man 4, Marvel's new strategy is to essentially please its fans, which it should be. Again, do that with quality content, but that appears to be Marvel's new plan moving forward. So, more great news, this time from Disney CEO Bob Iger about Marvel's new plan moving forward. I think this is great news to hear, and I think since they're getting back to how they were before, we are really going to start to see quality content from Marvel Studios again. I do think it started with the Thunderbolts, but I think the Fantastic Four will be even better. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. And does this make you more excited for future projects like the Fantastic Four First Steps, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret Wars? Let us know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news, rumors, or leaks. You can also find us on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.